Hello Oscar and Annabelle, Grandpa here, and it's lots of love from me and from Granny who's just sat outside. We've got another heat wave here, so we've had a lovely lunch out on the terrace, and now in a minute we're going to sit down, and probably Grandpa more than likely will have a little snooze, I expect, as Daddy well knows. So, hope you're having fun, and I'm going to read a little bit more for Annabelle, and if Oscar you'd like to listen, that's wonderful too. So we're going to read a little bit more, we're getting towards the end now, of Zoe's Rescue Zoo, The Puzzled Penguin. And if you remember, Pip really doesn't understand who he is, and so Zoe got into the lagoon in the penguin enclosure and asked Pip to jump in. And Pip blinked his tiny dark eyes and he wriggled his fluffy little body bravely and jumped. With a plop and a splash, he landed in the lagoon. Zoe held her breath as he disappeared under the surface, and the other penguins dived underneath to watch. What if I was wrong? Zoe thought suddenly, her heart racing. What if he doesn't like swimming? Her head was spinning with worry as she waited to see what Pip thought. Suddenly, a tiny, pale grey shape darted right past her toes. With a splash and a very excited peep, Pip's head popped above the surface of the lagoon. His feathery wings were fluttering so quickly they were almost a blur. "Pip," Zoe cried, "you did it!" The little chick peeped again and plunged back under the water, turning a nimble somersault before gliding away through the lagoon. Zoe had never seen him look so happy. It was as though Pip had been swimming for years instead of just a few minutes. The rest of the colony followed, swooping along after him. As they shot through the water, they left thousands of bubbles behind them, like streams of pearls. And there we are, look, there they all are. They're having a lot of fun there, aren't they? All the penguins. And there's little Pip come to see Zoe. Meat bounced so excitedly he nearly fell off his rock, and Will cheered. "Brilliant, Zoe," he called. "Your plan worked. I'm going to radio your mum so she can come and see." Will disappeared into a small room at the back of the enclosure, grinning. Suddenly Zoe jumped and giggled. Something soft and fluffy was tickling her toes under the water. Then there was a tiny splash as Pip shot up and appeared right in front of her, cheeping happily. Zoe laughed. "You're swimming, Pip," she exclaimed in delight. "Now, do you believe you're a penguin?" The chick cheeped again and flapped his tiny wings excitedly. His eyes were bright and his tail feathers were wagging happily. Zoe beamed, relief flooding through her. Her plan had worked. Pip loved swimming, and finally he knew where he belonged. So it's now. Isn't that nice, Annabelle? And now it's chapter 11, a very special ice lolly. There's Pip. Pip swam through the lagoon, diving right down to the bottom, and then shooting all the way back up to the surface. He wriggled his body to pick up speed, swimming faster and faster, and then leapt right out of the water, sailing through the air before splashing back in again. Zoe heard a voice gasp. "Oh, wow, look, Mum, there's a girl swimming with the penguins." Zoe looked through the glass wall of the enclosure. The zoo gates must have just opened as visitors were streaming down the path. As people spotted Zoe in the lagoon, they rushed over to watch. Lots of visitors pulled out their cameras and snapped photos of her, and Zoe waved at them shyly. Will came back out into the enclosure and settled down on the rocks next to Meep, looking pleased with all the attention. Suddenly Zoe froze. Behind the crowd of happy people, she saw one very angry face coming down the path towards her. Mr. Pinch looked even crosser than yesterday. He pushed rudely through the visitors, scowling furiously at Zoe. "Miss Parker, this is a disgrace," he snapped. "Is this your idea of selling tickets for the penguin feeding show?" The crowd of visitors turned to stare at Zoe curiously. Zoe could feel her cheeks turning pink. The tickets, she thought. "I'm in so much trouble." Then she felt something very small and soft brushing against her hand. She looked down. Pip rubbed his head against her, making a very happy peeping sound. Zoe couldn't help smiling at the little chick. I did the right thing, she thought. I don't mind getting into trouble with Mr. Pinch if that's what it takes to help Pip. But maybe I can still do something to help Will and the show too. Zoe splashed across to the glass wall so that she could speak to the crowd over the top of it. Hello everyone, she called. My name is Zoe. As you can see, we have lots of beautiful penguins here at the Rescue Zoo. Most of our birds are Adelie, Rockhopper or Emperor penguins. They're all very friendly, including the colony's newest member. She pointed to Pip. The little chick twittered excitedly and dived under the water, gliding towards Zoe. As he reached her, he popped up above the surface again, right in front of the crowd. He's gorgeous, whispered a lady with curly white hair, lifting her granddaughter up to see better. There he is, look, in front of her. There he is. Pip's right there in front of the crowd. Ah, wow. This is Pip, Zoe explained to the crowd. He arrived at the Rescue Zoo 2 days ago, and he loves his new home already. If any of you would like to see more of Pip and the other birds, there will be a special penguin feeding show at 3 o'clock today. She glanced at Mr. Pinch's furious face and took a deep, nervous breath. Would anyone like to buy a ticket? A little girl with a black plate was the first to reply. Me, she called eagerly. I bet you'd have liked to have bought a ticket, wouldn't you, Annabelle? Her mum smiled and nodded. We'll take 2, she said, though these penguins are just so adorable. Behind them, more people in the crowd nodded and called out. Where can we buy our tickets from? Asked a blonde lady wearing lots of pink lipstick. There's a little wooden hut on the other side of the path, Zoe told them, pointing. That's where the tickets and the money tin are. If you don't mind waiting just a couple of minutes, I'll jump out of the water and get dry. Then I'll come straight over. The blonde lady tutted. But you're having so much fun in the water, it seems such a shame to make you get out now. She turned to Mr. Pinch. Excuse me, she said bossily. I think I heard you say something about the show before. Why does this little girl have to sell the tickets? We can just put our money straight into the tin and take a ticket ourselves. That seems much simpler to me. The crowd muttered in agreement. Mr. Pinch stared in disbelief at the crowd. Before he could argue, the blonde lady reached into a handbag for her purse and marched over to the hut. The rest of the crowd followed her, eagerly chatting about the show. Shaking his head angrily, the zoo manager shot a final glance at Zoe and stomped off after them. Zoe couldn't believe it. Will grinned at her. Brilliant, Zoe, he said. You don't have to spend the whole summer in the hut, and the visitors are going to buy hundreds of tickets. In fact, it looks as though today's show is going to sell out, called another voice. Zoe turned to see her mum stepping into the enclosure. Her mum's called Lucy, isn't she, Annabelle? Holding a big, fluffy white towel under one arm and a small box under the other. I've just walked past the hut, Lucy continued. There's a queue of visitors stretching all the way to the hippo enclosure. Zoe splashed to the edge of the lagoon and climbed out, dripping and shivering. Oh, she must have been very cold. Lucy wrapped the soft white towel around her shoulders. Zoe cuddled into it gracefully. There she is, look, cuddling into her towel. Now, you go and sit in the sunshine with me, her mum told her. You'll be warm and dry in just a few minutes, and then I've got a treat for you both. Zoe stepped into her flip-flops and went to sit by her best friend. She started to feel warmer straight away. As she tipped her head back to enjoy the sunshine on her face, Meep leapt into her lap for a hug. Meep, I'm still wet, Zoe said, laughing. You know you'll be grumpy if your fur gets damp. I don't mind, Meep chirped, nuzzling his head against her. I'm too excited, Zoe. Pip's happy and we get a treat. Even better, we don't have to sell any more tickets, Zoe added, grinning as her little friend started jumping up and down in excitement. I can't believe it, Meep. We've got our summer back. They sat in the sun for a little while, watching the penguins swoop and glide in the lagoon. Zoe changed back into her summer dress and was soon lovely and warm again. Here you go, you two, Lucy called. Come and have something yummy for a hot summer's day. Zoe made her way back over to the edge of the lagoon with Meep scampering eagerly behind. Lucy opened the little box and held it out to them. There's a strawberry ice lolly for you, Zoe, and some frozen mango for Meep, she said. Whoa! And I've got something special for the penguins too, added Will, bringing out a larger box. He smiled proudly as he took the lid off and showed them what was inside. Fish ice lollies. Ooh, would you like a fish ice lolly, Annabelle? Ooh, we're not too sure about that. I made them last night from frozen pilchards. Zoe, will you help me hand them out? Zoe reached into the box and picked up a handful of the cold, slippery lollies. As the penguins started splashing out of the water and waddling over to her, she placed them on the ice so that they could nibble and peck away at them. Zoe made sure that Pip had a big lolly all to himself. Well, wasn't that great, Annabelle? So next time we're probably going to finish reading this story and we'll move on to the next one. Hope that'll be exciting. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Hello to Mummy and Daddy and Oscar, if he's not with you. And lots of love from Granny and Grandpa. And see you soon. Bye.